At the Philadelphia Writers Conference, I remember when we were going before you were ever on the board and you were in the classes, and then suddenly it just seemed like one year you were the president. You weren't in the classes as much, which
that sucks, doesn't
missed
it?
you being there. But that's what I wanted to ask you.
You know, there's so much I wanted.
Once you did go on the board, was it missing the fact that you weren't in the classes and you couldn't vote for the poems on the wall and you couldn't sort of participate in a lot of stuff, that now you're in a more official capacity?
I kind of thought of it as, I always worry that there's not going to be a welcoming venue like that. Like when I went to the Writers' Conference, I found that to be so enriching because I got to try stuff that I never did. I could sit in on playwriting because I always wanted to do that, and I could sit in on and see what I could learn from. I love education. I love learning. But I really took so much from that, and I was, after a certain period of time, I wonder, can I help make this continue to happen for people, because it meant such a big deal to me, So that's how I ended up getting into doing the organizing part of it, because I realized, like, when I met people, like Bill Van Buskirk showed up at a reading one time, read a poem, blew my head off, and I thought, oh my God, suppose we weren't running this series in that neighborhood where he happened to wander in and read his poem. And that's what keeps me going.
You said when you were a young kid, you organized the kids into different games. So something tells me you were always a natural leader.
I didn't think about
that.
That's a good point.
I know,
you were doing
it's funny, and my grandmother laughed. I went to stay with her for 2 or 3 weeks in the summer one time, and I was probably 9, 10 years old. And she said told my mother there weren't kids in the neighborhood. She didn't know that there were kids in the neighborhood, what I would have to do for 3 weeks. But I found the local park, and next thing you know, all the kids were in my grandmother's backyard. Must have been 25 kids, 30 kids in the backyard. And I was directing them in some kind of a thing. All the bikes will roll in on the grass at this time together, and you people are going to tap dance this way. And it was a show. It was downtown. Remember downtown? My grandmother used to make fun of me with that song because we ran that on the deck or whatever out back, and all these kids would do stuff to the song. It was like a production, and I attribute that to my parents because I saw Gypsy, all these stage things. So this is my job. I'm a choreographer or whatever. So isn't that funny? I never put that together that, eventually I'm doing that. And Frank always talks me off the ledge, He's like, you can go. Isn't it funny to look back at the younger me saying, no, I'm not even going. I'm not going to attend. I'm not worthy. I wouldn't have gone without Frank. For the first time that we did that Mad Poets Festival, I was petrified. And he had me reading poems to him, and he had me reading poems in the mirror, and he had me... he wanted me to do it. And he kept saying, you sing on your back porch. You can sing in front of people. He wanted me to be doing it. So it wasn't... He was right. You know what I mean? So he's St. Frank.
Yeah.
I would still be the girl in the kitchen sending out poems to magazines, but I wouldn't be the girl who's up at the mic. In fact, when Mad Poets started as Delco Poets, I said, I'll do anything. I'm a workaholic. I'm a workhorse. Use me. But I don't want to be in front of that microphone. It's almost like taking my vaccination every time I do something.
I always find that amazing. All the stuff that you've done over 30 years, and you still have this nervous...
I guess that's what I wanted to help do, be that push. That person who says, you have some talent here. Why aren't you doing blank? Where have you been? That... Because it's just, finding people who, have something amazing to say, but don't realize how good they are, and they stumble onto the scene. And it's just like, to me, you need to hear you're really good.
I'm always awed by the talent that we have at the readings.
Yeah.
I mean, we really do have some amazing poets.
Honestly, and poets are like the sages of the modern world. Mm-hmm. We're the ones that are supposed to tell the stories. That's our job, And it's like, I always talk about that Springsteen song that says, the poets down here don't do nothing at all. They just stand around and let it all be. And it's from Jungle Land. And whenever I hear that, I say, yes, we are! goddamn doing the job. Why aren't you paying attention? We filter news. We filter the news. But look at the people on the scene now going to the open mics and talking about politics. You know, it's a big picture out there. And I think that everybody who's now staking a claim on which side of the political fence they're on is just trying to preserve their little piece of happiness. And so everybody's taking that personal and everybody's getting upset about it.
And it doesn't even have to be about politics. Considering some of the social and political stuff that I've written, I've been challenged on a Duchamp poem, and I was challenged on the Eclipse. People took offense to those things.
Right.
So
It's amazing, right?
So the point being,
And poetry
you
makes
could
nothing
write
happen.
about anything, and somebody isn't going to like what you're saying. There could be a controversy in just about anything.
Right. Now consider what W.H. Auden said. Poetry makes nothing happen. That's laughable to me. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, I remember hearing the story about the woman that was jailed in Russia, and because of what she had written, and they locked her up, and she was writing on little cigarette papers, writing poems and smuggling them out. Her name was Irina. I'll never forget that. And I remember thinking,
Why do I notice?
I identify with that because I couldn't write when I was married to my ex-husband. Not really. I couldn't say what I wanted to say, and I always felt like smuggling the poems out on cigarette papers. You know what I mean? It was that I identify with that woman.
Is there anything the poets shouldn't write about?
No. That's instantaneous, yeah.
I mean, I
think
do
so.
hear like Bill
I
Van
don't
Buskirk
believe
has a poem about being told you shouldn't write love poems.
Right. I've been told that. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't write
and
about
I've
the heart.
heard, I mean, don't write about this.
Yeah, don't use the
write
word
about
heart.
that. Don't use the word heart.
Don't use
Yeah,
the word
there's-
soul.
Soul.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah.
Or cicada.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Oh my God. Isn't that funny though? Yeah, I was told that. In fact, I have a poem about that, but you haven't seen it because I don't feel
Which
like
one?
it's good enough.
Cicada?
No, I'll send it to you. It's called Taboo. But it's subjects that we're not supposed to write about. And I have half a poem about that. But yeah, don't write love poems. And really, it's funny because I start out that way, and the poem is about being in love with Frank. And saying, how do I not? I know that for centuries people have been writing love poems, and I'm not going to say anything that's startlingly new. And that's what they tell you in workshops. They say, you know what? Give it up with the love poem because it's not going to work. I don't believe that is true because, nobody's seen it through my eyes. Nobody's seen it through my eyes. So whether I'm using the word soul, I think if you got to write that poem, you're writing that poem. That's coming out. And it should. I don't think there's anything I would say. In fact, I'm starting to, delve into sensuality in poetry, or, I've been known for the Buzzing Nipple poem. That's about, being a woman in a woman's skin, and having the, I want to say guts, to be able to say what it's like to be a sensual woman. And feel those things and be able to put that in poetry and do it in a good way, in a tasteful way where you feel it, you understand it because it's you. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes I don't consciously think that, but when I'm trying to write it and it's coming out, my thing is, you know what? It's all right if I read it afterwards and I feel like pushing an envelope somewhere. Because it's my experience. And I shouldn't be afraid of it, to write it. But, grandma, I've got grandchildren. So you think, you know what, is that gross, grandma? You don't want that. You write a sensual poem there, you think you imagine your grandkids, so what the hell, grandma?
Every poem has an audience. And so
But it's your truth. You have to write your truth.